housekeeping matters. We don't expect to have any substantive decisions made today. I would like, because it's the first time that many of you are seeing one another, and even those who have known each other for a long time, have been thrust into an assignment because of your expertise or because of your political location, so to speak. And so there may be a need for us to just say one or two words as members about this task that is in front of us. So I'll start by asking the Vice Chair. You can speak later, I think, after the members do. Maybe I will ask the gentleman there to introduce himself and just to say one or two words so that we can dispense with this part quickly.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and colleagues. My name is Pius Meto, or Pius Meto, it depends on the school that you come from. I have served in public service for over 30 years. I started as a teacher. I served in NHIF in various capacities, and NSSF, where I served until the position of a general manager, and I'm the immediate Director General Sports Kenya. Chair, I think this is a heavy task on us, and it is our desire that at the end of it all we'll be able to come up with a framework that's going to guide us in actually coming at Chair was saying, when you talk of compensation, it is very difficult, a difficult task, because what value do you give to a human life? And I hope that by the end of, as we begin coming up with a framework, we'll be able to come up with something that will be a relief to the victims and to bring justice in this nation. So I know it's a heavy task, but I believe that together we'll come up with something that is going to, this country is going to be proud of, and to bring justice to the victims. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, colleagues in the panel. It's my pleasure to be part of this very esteemed panel. But I'm also aware that that pleasure ends there, because before us is a mammoth task. It's not easy. Kenyans are waiting to see what we come up with. And I will urge colleagues that we take the oath that we took very, very seriously. Chair and Vice Chair and colleagues, I want to undertake that I will give this my best. I'm very happy when I look at the diversity of the expertise that is in the room. I'm confident that at the end of this exercise, we will be able to give Kenyans and the victims what perhaps they did not expect. So thank you very much. And God bless you all.
Thank you, Senior Counsel.
Chairperson, Vice Chairperson, members of the panel and the technical committee, my name is Irungo Houghton. I serve for the last 8 years with Amnesty International Kenya. What you may not know about me is that past the press conferences and the statements that you sometimes have seen, is that I'm actually a team player. I work very well with people, and I try and get positions that are consensual as we, I guess, go through very difficult tasks. So I see my role in the panel in the same view. I think 3 remarks and just a reflection from a piece that I wrote 2 weeks ago. There is really no domestic precedence in terms of success for what we're about to do. We have many initiatives that were done, whether they're on IDPs or the post-election violence cases, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. But many of those efforts did not land at the point at which the expectations of Kenyans wanted them to land. So I think we have a real opportunity here to demonstrate that actually something that can be done about people's trauma, about people's violations, and also that we can combine these three important parts, which is compensation or reparations, the issue of justice, and the issue of non-recurrence. So that, I think, is my first point. The second one is that we are a temporary committee, and I feel honored to be among you. But our lifespan is quite temporal. I think what we have to think about is how do we anchor this process in independent and constitutional commissions, or independent offices and institutional commissions. So I'm really looking to Kenya National Commission and the Independent Policing Oversight Authority to become the drivers within the technical committees, and also essentially become our repository as we exit off this panel within a few months from now. And then the last one, I think, is just to comment a little bit about sending messages consistently, clear messages to Kenyans about what we can do, what we can't do, what we can do quickly and what will take longer, what is an immediate redress, what's possible in terms of compensation, but also what are the policy and the legal recommendations that we're making to ensure that this dark season of violence that we have seen, and it's really important for us not to forget what happened in June and July. We lost 65 human beings in June and July in those 2 months alone. That is 3 people a day for 2 months. I think we are coming at a time when the nation needs us most. So I thank you very much for the bravery, or is it the craziness that you brought to accept the call from the chairperson. I hope I can become crazy with you too.
Thanks, Irungu. The chair, vice chair, colleague panelists, and technical team, good afternoon. John Olukuru, doctor, not medical, but academia. So I'm a lecturer at Strathmore University Business School. These days my life is data. And for the first time, I think I look at this task ahead, and I'm just wondering what truth will this data really bring forward. I know people say the truth will set you free, but the believability of the data is what will give credibility. How believable will that data be? And that's maybe something that I look forward to see. If we can solve that puzzle, it will be something worthwhile. Data, wherever they are today, it is a bit useless. So until it is analyzed information, lesson learned from that information, and wisdom generated so that we can be able to wipe that tear from the victims, then the impact is what will be everlasting in this country. I think it's a wonderful task. It is crazy, as Irungu mentioned. Some of us have taken this role, but I think it's for the good of the nation. So we'll give it all we can, and of course, to appreciate that all of us have a role to validate and make something better from that raw data that all the institutions have out there. So looking forward, Chair, to give all the support and just to see if we can get this nation to a healing point. Thank you.
My name is Reverend Ken Baraza. Thank you so much, Chair and the Deputy. To my fellow panelists and the expertise, we have a role ahead of us. And actually, when you look at the days that we have been given, we really need to pull up our socks and trust God. Let's work in unity. And I'm sure that God gonna heal our nation. This is where the Church of Jesus Christ is involved. And mediation and giving people back hope to face tomorrow with confidence. I am 100% sure we're going to deliver. God bless you.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and fellow panelists and the team. Seated next to me was Linda Musumba. Dr. Linda Musumba had to leave, and therefore I'm giving that as an apology. She had to dash out. My name is Duncan Ojuang. I'm a member of American Bar Association, and I've taught human rights for 15, 16 years. Maybe one remark is to say I think the biggest qualification to be in this panel is the capacity to weep in the face of injustice. And I think, as you say, we are not here as lawyers, legal mind, but as brothers and sisters to talk about fellow Kenyans who we are hearing their cry every night because of what happened, whether it's for the police, whether it's the victim and all that. I'm also very glad, Chair, that you pointed the issue of Ubuntu. I think this is a chance for Kenya again to show the world that we can set trend just like our constitution did. Rungu have said there is no precedent on this, and that's a good thing. I think that Kenya can lead, and we have always led on these issues. It's dangerous, it's hard, but it's worth it for the sake of this country. Therefore, I am very happy and excited to be part of this, and again, believing that the biggest thing is the ability to listen at our fellow citizen as we have all been around seeing what has happened. Thank you. And thank you, Dr. John. And coincidentally, I wrote to you 15 years ago when I was a master's student, asking to work with you when you were dean. You did not reply. Oh my God. So this morning I was telling Dr. Linda Musumba, finally, I'm working with Professor Makau Mutua. Thank you. We shall make it up. We shall make it up.
Chair, Vice Chair, and all the members of the panel, the technical team, good afternoon. My name is Naini Lankas. I'm one of the youth representatives seated here today. It's quite an honor to be here today, and I think I'm thankful because this is one of the indications that the government is listening. I think for a long time in this country, we've not always had young people or the youth sitting in such panels. So for me, I am a teacher by training. That is my first degree. I'm also a project manager and soon to be a lawyer with a keen interest in human rights. So my expectations in this panel is that we can create a framework where even as we disagree moving forward and people express their dissatisfaction peacefully, that people don't have to die. I think that as long as governments exist, people will have different opinions with policy and what comes up. But that moving forward as a nation, even as we seek to heal our pasts through compensation, we can look forward to a future where we don't have to bury people and have to condole with families. So thank you once again. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Naini. It's a great pleasure for me and I think for all of us to have you on the panel. And we look forward to your full participation in this panel to guide us to find our way forward.
Thank you, Chair. I think you allow me to stand just because I cannot see the people on the far end. The Chair, my good friend, Professor Makau Mutua, the Vice Chair, Faith, Senior Counsel, the panelists, experts, and the technical people. My name is Dr. Francis Muraya. Doctor is academic, PhD in economics and public policy. I currently serve as the Senior Economic Advisor in the Executive Office of the President. Previously, although I'm still an employee there, on sabbatical, worked with Professor Makau at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. And like Ojwang, I got an opportunity to work with him But for this task, I'm not even sure if he knew that I was going to be part of this task. But I'm very happy and privileged to work with you again, Professor. He's a professor that we have shared many ideas. We have exchanged when we were in America together, in Washington, D.C., to be precise, when he had come from New York, where he lived for many years. We shared many ideas about Kenya and how we can develop this country together, how we can come back and give back to Kenya, having lived in America for over 25 years. Together, John Maina there, who was the president of the Kenya community abroad. We work together very closely. So for me, it's a privilege, as Faith said, Vice Chair, that you cannot support the victims sitting on the fence. I've, just like Faith, I have also had many calls and many discussions with members of the society who happen to know my office and who are not happy that I was appointed in this. They have said many sentiments that are unpleasant, to be honest with you, that we are somehow sanitizing blood and many other bad words. But I've told them that the victims need a voice. The victims need justice. And so we must, as a country, come up with a framework of how even to prevent the future victims, if we can be able to do that. My specialty is, as I said, is in economics, and I'm happy to be joined by Dr. John Awala, and Washira from the National Treasury. I am very much interested, as much as we compensate on the victims and the properties, to look at economic analysis on the impact of those protests and riots. As somebody mentioned, one of the panelists, that we must be guided by data and of course evidence. So we need to know how is Kenya impacted when we have this protest economically, because it's huge and it does have an impact on our economic growth. And so with your permission, Chair and the Vice Chair, I'll be very happy to work with the National Treasury team to also bring in that aspect of the economic analysis on the impact of the protest. Essentially, this compensation is also about funding. So it's very important that the National Treasury is here to be able to work with the team on providing funding. I had some thoughts that I shared with you, Chair, on how maybe we can also be able to come up with a dedicated fund for this, and which could carry on for now and for the future, instead of one-off kind of compensation, that we actually have a dedicated fund where we can get the National Treasury to allocate funding, we can get private sector to allocate funding, we can, because they are mainly the ones who are affected in terms of properties and assets and on the protest. So I think it's a collective idea to bring everybody together. The development partners, I think they also be happy to put some money into this funding so that we are able to come together and rise up again as a country. Beyond that, and my last point is that developing a framework that, as you mentioned, Chair, which can help and to deter or address these issues before they happen, so that we don't, we are not reactive like we are now. We are reacting to what happened, but how can we prevent it from happening? And that framework can be able to help in that aspect. Again, I'm very happy to be appointed by His Excellency the President to work in this panel, and among all these dignified specialists, including the technical people. I had an issue trying to think, Chair, because we are called a panel of experts, and then we have technical experts. So I wasn't sure who are more experts than the others, because they're technical supporting the panel of experts. But anyway, those are semantics that can be sorted out. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mariah. Of course, we go our way back. I would say at least a decade, if not longer, and it is my singular pleasure to be united with you in this initiative. We look forward to mining your expertise, for you are an expert, for sure.
Okay, to the chairman, our vice chair, panel of the members of the panel, and the technical team, good afternoon. Yeah, my name is Juliet Chepkemei. I'm in the oil and gas industry, and I recently returned diaspora. So I'm very happy to serve my nation because I've never worked in the government. I've always been in the private sector out of the country. Quite honored and humbled to have been selected to this panel. And my expectations are really to see how, after we complete our task, I really hope and pray that this will unite us as Kenyans to see that this is a nation that cares for each other in the spirit of Ubuntu, and also to restore public confidence in our government. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chepkemei.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Raphael Anampiu. I'm in the financial services space. I think in terms of expectations, I hope that we'll be able to achieve a transparent and fair process as we continue. But I think, as you mentioned earlier, I think in Manhattan, where you've lived for a long time, you've never seen the police hurt anyone or kill anyone. My hope is that this is the first and last panel of experts on compensation, and we don't need to compensate anyone ever again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nampi.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Maina. I see a lot of faces that I know have come a long way with them. Dr. Makau Mutua, we were with him in the US. I was also teaching in the US. Dr. Mariah, we were together in Washington. And so when you see us here, we're also representing the diaspora community, which is almost 4 million now. Remember, the diaspora have families over here who are also concerned about any activities that take place here in the country. So we'll be updating the diaspora also as well about what we are doing here. And not forget that we were very vibrant even when we were abroad. Doesn't mean we were disconnected. I remember the first Kenya Human Rights was founded by my friend here, Professor Mutua, and Dr. Maina Kiai, Professor Maina Kiai, and a few others, right? In Washington, before we had Kenya Human Rights here. So you see we have a lot of experts in this committee, and some of us are the ones who proposed dual citizenship and voting rights into the new constitution, which was 15 years old as of last week. So we're part of that panel with the Boma's draft in 2004. And that's where I met my friend Suba Churchill there. I don't know if he was supporting our proposal or he was heckling. But yeah, we come along with Suba Churchill. I met him at Bomas, of course, in 2004, when we were working on the new constitution. So we are here to uphold that constitution, and especially me, I'm very delighted to see that at long last the victims of post-election violence are being compensated. And besides compensation, I'm glad to see that there is justice element in it, because just paying them is not enough. We need justice for those victims, and I think that is will be the beginning of a closure of and bring unity to our country. As you know, of now our country is very divided, and this will be maybe a beginning of that journey to bring our country back together. We use Chair's word Ubuntu, which is humanity. There was a lot of pain during those post-election violence, and we lost a lot of people, as my friend Rongo said, that we need to heal by not only compensating them, but actually giving them justice. Justice has to be seen to happen, and we hope this will be the beginning of that closure. Of course, we can't revive the ones who have gone, but we need to show that we are addressing those issues. We're addressing those issues because remember, some of the people, victims who left us, they were caregivers in their families. Now you can imagine the ones who have left without caregivers. I see compensation coming in handy, but also justice, very important for healing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my friend John. You know, for those who that he was able to play this role, although he lived in the United States. Thank you, John. Very long. I think we've decided to move the tea or the coffee and other condiments next to the door there, so that feel free to just go there and, okay, it's coming, quickly, go there and nourish yourself as we continue with the meeting. We're not going to suspend the meeting, we'll just, circulate.
Good afternoon, panel members and technical team. Okay, I hear the technical team as well need to introduce themselves, so I think maybe we'll start with the joint secretaries or... Thank you, Vice Chair.
The technical team, Francis Nwaya, doctor, was saying that, doubting whether he's an expert, because we have technical experts. The real experts in the room are in the technical team. And they'll be the backbone of what we are doing. Obviously, the panel is executive in the sense that it makes policy decisions, but much of the nitty-gritty, the work of the panel will be done by the technical experts. And so it is them that will make us either succeed or fail. And we won't take responsibility for failing. We shall blame them if we fail. So I want them to speak up so people can know who they are, so that also the members of the panel can be able to graft themselves to some of the technical team members, because we want that grafting to take place as soon as possible. So we'll just continue from, I don't know where we continue from, maybe we begin with the joint secretaries, and then we go to, we just go from here. Or we start with you?
Start here, start there, India.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's start with Barney. Yes, you did. Please, can you suspend for him to introduce himself? You want the introduction?
I think is because everyone has done it. I think let me do it. My name is Kennedy Ogoto. I'm immediate former Solicitor General of the Republic of Kenya. Currently, I work in the Executive Office of the President. But I think more importantly, for purposes of this assignment, it's important, Chair and Vice Chair and colleagues, to note that I've interacted with issues of victims, although very peripherally. When I worked at the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, I was defending accused persons there. And the focus was really on prosecution and defense. So the question of victims was very peripheral, but I have an idea as to the challenges that victims face. After my stint at the ICTR, I also moved to the Special Court for Sierra Leone. I was there for 1 year. Again, I interacted, again very peripherally, with the question of victims. And the question of victims in Sierra Leone was really, really serious. And yet, there wasn't much attention. And that's why I'm very delighted here that we're putting a lot of focus on the question of victims. And as some of us have said, this is really groundbreaking. I also went, and after Sierra Leone, you know the problems we had in 2007, 2008. I had the opportunity and privilege to also work as a defense counsel at the ICC. Again, I did have some interaction on the question of victims, but not on the scale that we are now going to witness here, where we focus fully on this question of victims and set some groundbreaking rules and policies on the way forward. So that is information about me, Chair.
Yes.
I think it's important for colleagues to know that...
No, I think it would have been a travesty if you had not actually spoken about your own experience.
Yes.
You are one of Kenya's leading international criminal law experts. Your work on mass atrocity, albeit on the defense side, is remarkable and very much appreciated. I was very happy that you came to join this panel, and we look forward to a lot of your guidance as we go forward.
Thank you very much. Chair, Vice Chair, members of the panel of experts and colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Barno, Richard Barno. This is my 26th year in practice as an advocate, but I have had an interesting play of practice. I have not practiced law in the ordinary manner that most advocates would do so. Quickly, I spent the first 5 years in legal practice, private practice, found that a bit boring, spent the next 5 years working in counterterrorism, and it is in that field of counterterrorism that I first dealt with victims and victims of terror. And you will find some of our fingerprints in the Prevention of Terrorism Act that has rigorous victims compensation framework. Worked in that aspect, also moved to IGAD, worked for IGAD, and within IGAD managed a fund that compensated victims of pastoral violence. This
continent, and fortunately this part of the world, a lot of people have suffered from pastoral violence, cattle rustling. And so we managed to find the time to mitigate that and to prevent that. And then I came back to Kenya after 10 years in IGAD, joined the then Deputy President's team at The Hague. And so our approach to victims then was considered cynical, but I think it's fair to say we took the approach that what had happened was an outlier and that Kenyans needed to deal with it, and that the processes had been put in place in Kenya to compensate some of the victims of that process. As somebody noted earlier on, there are quite a number of challenges to that process with the compensation of post-election violence victims, and there are lessons we can take away from that process that we need to avoid, there are things we need to avoid from the attempt to compensate some of the Kenyans who suffered through that process. I've since then been with the President, then as Deputy President and now as President, and my official designation, Professor is your deputy, is that you are Senior Advisor on Constitutional Affairs, I am Advisor on Constitutional Affairs, so I am a rank lower. And when it comes to this particular challenge, Article 7, I have been playing with this issue for quite a while. 2016, 2015, after particularly as we approached the 2017 elections, we started interrogating with this issue about how could we make it possible for Kenyans to exercise the Article 7 rights and not have shops being closed and not have people getting injured. And our approach then, through various personalities, was to try and get a judicial sanctioned process. So we actually, through proxies, filed a number of cases trying to get the court to interpret Article 7 rights in a manner that they could be enjoyed. Successfully call for this process. I must say I'm one of the happiest persons, because for me, if we can achieve one of the mandates here, that mandate where Kenyans can hold demonstrations like Israel every night for 3 months and no cars are being banned, no one is dying, no one is getting injured, I think for me, beyond the token that will give those who are injured, that for me will be the real success of this mandate. So I am all in. I am all in this mandate. I am happy to take part. Thank you. You can see why Richard is a true expert. I think your presence here will have a singular effect on what we accomplish. There is no doubt about it in my mind, and I want to thank you for being part of this. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Ndeda Duncan Anthony. I'm an orthopedic surgeon by training, and nowadays special focus on sports, but I also have some training on gunshot injuries. For me to be this panel, it's an honor. I have been on the other side of the victims. I have seen the pain. I think the last 9 years I've operated most of these protest patients. And it is both the public and even the police. So we need to also factor in, and I was happy when the police were brought on board. We all think that it is only protesters that suffer, but also the police sometimes are on the wrong end, either of their own fire or sometimes from the protesters. From the health side, there's a lot of psychological trauma, which to quantify at a larger scale is difficult. We saw the way the whole country reacted to the shooting, straight bullet to the head. I have been a victim of the strain to the health system, and maybe that's why I was chosen here. The day I've worked longest in my life, 36 hours straight in theater, was due to a protest. You're stuck in theater, you can't get out. Even if you want to, there's a 3-year-old you have to save, there's an 8-year-old you have to save. And it's a big strain to the health system. And I hope we'll do justice to the victims, both real and indirect ones, and also find a way to make these protests allow our health system to flow. Because there are some other indirect deaths due to these protests. These last ones this year, I mean, some of the health workers could not move. They're stuck in traffic, they're stuck in their homes. So let's find a way and justice for those who are affected both physically, psychologically, and even the system itself. So for me, I'm all in. I am not sure I need another medic in the house.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Denda.
I have worked successfully with some of the members here. Abuse Metal, we've worked on Sports Kenya with the national teams. So we also came up with a lot of compensation for the athletes when we get out and get injured and stuff like that. So I hope to enjoy working with everyone.
Thank you so much. I know how busy you are, by the way, and but your expertise here will be much needed. So I hope that you'll be able to give us as much of your time as you can. And I want to assure you that we'll be talking to you about help in that area of health.
Thank you very much. Suba Churchill. I like introducing myself, though that scares people, as an activist, because people don't think activism is a career. And I like doing so because this is my 32nd year working in the human rights sector. I had opportunity, of course, as John Maina says, to work with him very closely as a representative of the diaspora at the Bomas Constitutional Conference in 2003-2004, where I was also privileged to chair the technical working group alongside Cecily Mbarire on citizenship and the Bill of Rights, and you know, the pressure on dual citizenship. Ngunjiri Wambugu, then also part of the diaspora, and many other delegations that our Kenyan brothers and sisters sent to make a case for dual citizenship used to fall on my lap as co-chair and co-convener of the technical working group on citizenship and the Bill of Rights. And of course, we have worked with so many, Dr. Juang. The other day, I found myself defending Professor Makau Mutua on Facebook. He came under attack, and what made it a bit interesting was that it was coming from people from within the sector that he and myself have been part of, and so I found myself seeking clarifications on his behalf and saying, really, it can't get this low. But I'm thankful for the appointment to be part of the technical team. Of course, as others have said, there have been a lot of pressure. Yesterday I spent about 1 hour talking to a colleague in the sector whose name I'll keep private, and he kept on saying, if you choose to take up this, if you choose, so you can see the appeal was to decline. So he kept on, you know. But I reminded him about, you know, the work that has gone into this, that this appointment has not come from nowhere. Way back in November, I think 29th, 1985, the United Nations passed a declaration on the basic principles of justice for victims of crime and abuse of power. I think some of the victims that we are going to deal with could clearly fall within this declaration that the UN General Assembly in its wisdom way back on 29th November 1985 anticipated and did make reference to judicial and administrative mechanisms that states are under obligation to come up and develop judicial and administrative mechanisms to address and obtain justice for victims of, crime and abuse of power. And so we come on board with quite a number of years of experience in human rights, 32 of them, and I hope that in addressing our terms of, I looked at the terms of reference and I found very, very rich in terms of attempting to address all the facets that have led us into this situation as a country. And so for us, some of us who have been organizers of protests, way back in 97 when we formed the National Convention Executive Assembly and its executive arm, the NCC, alongside Professor Kibutha Kibwana, Davinda Lamba, Willie Mutunga and others. I was the chairman of Mass Action in 97 after the Limuru Conference of April, and we quickly announced our first Mass Action was to be in May that year, and I found myself spending the night dancing to Nyatiti and other traditional music in Shauri Moyo because we had to be ahead of the police at Kamkunji grounds as soon as the daybreak started. And so we bring on board practical experiences of how those protests actually come in, and of course also additional experience on human rights and how we can be able to address some of these concerns that to critics out there have reduced to monetary value, but for us, there will always be issues of mental health. There are people who to date are still traumatized, and so how do we come up with a holistic approach that addresses all these concerns that our people are faced? But more importantly, how do we come up with legislative and institutional reforms that enable Kenyans to protest peacefully and go home, as the professor said. In 1999, I was a winner of a Global Human Rights Award, and I was invited to Columbia University and to be gallanded. But even as the award ceremony was going on, there was a group outside protesting against, the whole thing and the organizers, and so they went on with their protest. We went on with our ceremony in the university hall, and I found that to be a very dynamic society where, people can still recognize. But they were saying, these organizers of the award, Reebok, they are using children in Asia to produce their shoes and sportswear. So that was their concern. But they did not storm our ceremony. I was still, gallanded and came back home way back in 1999 in recognition of the efforts and sacrifices that some of us had made in improving the human rights situation in Kenya. So we'll be looking into that, and hopefully one of the recommendations as we will be ending our term will be to advise on how we can amend some of those colonial laws like the Public Order Act, that under which protests are managed. How does the work of this committee influence and inform training of police on how to manage crowds? Because that's part of the problem, and I'm glad that there are representations from the Kenya National Police Service and the Commission itself, the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, and many others. And so a lot of work that we'll be doing and recommendations, of course, will end up being parceled out to these other agencies that have, constitutional or legal perpetuity to be able to continue. But, I'm glad to be part of this process. Thank you.
I just want to say before Paul, you take the mic that, Suba, you are a troublemaker, and you know it. But it's a good trouble. That's what you've been doing. But one of the most remarkable things about our panel is how people who might have been regarded as enemies of the state are sitting here and talking. And as I was telling Senior Counsel Ogeto earlier today, you don't make peace with your friends. You make peace with your enemies or your opponents. And if surely Baba could come together with the president after a bitterly fought election, deeply contested, arguments flying back and forth, names, being called everywhere, but the country comes first. And I think, in as much as you look at the composition of the panel, you will see that people who have never sat in the inner sanctum of the state are now sitting there. And to the naysayers, for example, Suba, you are saying people who are sort of nitpicking and fighting and so on, what we are doing. I say to them that someone with your history, or someone with a history of Irungu, or someone with the verve, the nerve of faith, it cannot be compromised. It's not possible. How can you be compromised when we are working for Kenyans? Truly. So for me to see you sober here, I'm just completely, overjoyed. And I know that in terms of even the public sort of rendering of the narrative that we are going to be pursuing here will be made that much richer by your presence. So I welcome you.
Thank you very much. In fact, just as you said, I've been a victim of torture. I was arrested, tortured, 8 different occasions.
But we are not compensating you.
Yeah, but so I told people, the first people who called were my family members, so will they compensate? They say, no. The terms of reference ran from 2017, but I know what those people feel. They say they not compensate you even for our dad who died of shock when you were in prison. I said that's not part of the agenda. But I know what those people whose plight we are going to address feel, and I must be part of the solution to their problem. So I just wanted to add.
Well, thank you. I think what you're saying is compassion, and there's a lot of compassion in this room. This compassion in this room must also get outside of this room. And part of my role, my name is Paul Achar. I'm a practitioner in communication. Over the last 20 years, I've been a practitioner in applied human communication. Applied human communication really is the essence, so the intersection between theory, research, and how it finds a practical application across different sectors. I've had the privilege to work with some people represented in this room. And when I thought about this, and also Dr. mentioned Strathmore, I've also been adjunct faculty at Strathmore on communication, executive communication. I run an organization called Jade Communications, which is a center for applied human communication. When I thought about what we need as a panel, I know a lot of focus is on external communication.
But I'm also thinking that we will need to relook and to think about internal communication. How do we synthesize all these ideas? How do we synthesize all these minds and into a seamless operation that works well to serve the purpose that it has been structured to? That will be important. Remember, I'm also not talking about information control, but information management. Even within the team, it will be crucial for us to be able to think about that as we make decisions. As we have a contest of ideas, there will be contestation of ideas. How do we manage that in a way that inspires confidence even to those who will be outside of the room? I think that is important. But also, our communication will be key, even right from the word go. Today, how are we managing the communication of the panel? What is out there? I know there's information already that's flowing, both positive and both negative. So our role will primarily be my role with the team that is here will be to support this process and to ensure that we strategically communicate. We ensure that our messages and whatever our intent is met and that it is achieved. And that we do that with empathy and have the victims right at the center of our efforts. I also hope that we will be able to curate what will be some of the outcomes. We'll be able to publish, because this is historic, not just for this country, but also for other similar countries in Africa that have undergone the pains that we have also undergone. So I'm honored to sit among such an esteemed group. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Paul is modest. He is really a maestro of communications. If he decides to paint you black, in which case black here is negative, mostly black is positive, but you are finished. No matter how important or mighty or high you are, you just destroy you. Luckily, we have him on our side. And thank you, Paul.
Good afternoon. My name is Frederick Shombe Okango, but a lot of you know me as Okango. I am a trained communication person, but also a lawyer, but not an advocate. Therefore, it means I've undergone legal training. I am very privileged to support this panel of experts. I have been working with some of you before. I've worked with you. I've appeared with some of you in many discussions. And as a public communicator, I am aware that this process will require to disseminate information to the public. As my senior actuary has said, that information, in my view, will not only be strategic, but also effective. Because I was just checking online right now, there's a hashtag trending called Victims Compensation Campaign. And if you follow it through, you'll listen to hear all forms of comments. It is my hope, Chairman and Vice Chair and the panel, that our being here will support the panel in framing this public communication in a manner that wins the hearts of Kenyans, persuading that this process is a healing process, and this process is a process that ultimately will end up in finding justice to the victims of protest and demonstration. And finally, I also believe that all of us here are effective public communicators. I am aware, Prof, that at some point, because I deal with the media a lot, sometimes when you wake up in the morning, you see me on your TV in the morning, and you wonder, who is this guy? This is the guy. Sometimes the media will require members of this panel to contribute in discussions. What are you going to tell the public? What should you tell the public? How should you tell it to the public? And why should you say it to the public? That information squarely sits in this room. We believe, Prof, that we shall support your team. We are a team, and we shall succeed to the benefit of the public and the victims. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Just to say that, you know, every member of the panel and technical team is really an ambassador for the project that we are pursuing. We can do a lot of good, but unless it is known, it will be all for naught. I personally believe that whatever you do in the public space, communication is 50% of the work that needs to be done to change people's minds. For us, as I've said before, this is a nation-building exercise. You know, there's no doubt about that in my mind. And I would ask the members of the panel to avail themselves to both Fred and to Paul, so that they can give guidance on how we fashion this message. We will have a lot of challenges, I can assure you. Partly because, you know, in a democracy, every person has an opinion. And we also have something called a united opposition. And in my view is that this is seen in some quarters, this exercise, as a benefit to one side of the political equation. And so every attempt will be made to delegitimize what we are doing, to attack it, to demagogue it. You know, in the technical teams and the committees that we shall form as a part of them, the media team will be a very big part of it. And of course, media today, as Naini Lankas will tell you, resides mostly in social media, not so much in, you know, the idiot box, the TV, which I call the idiot box, or the printed paper. It is really in TikTok and those other forums. And these guys are adept at it. And so I really urge us to be very close to them. They will lead our team. I'm sure they'll be joined by other people. Faith has some ideas about people that she has to come and work with them. So I just want to say we are in very good hands. You know, these guys are propagandists, but in a positive. They are positive propagandists.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and the other panelists. My name is Geoffrey Obiri. I work in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. I've been a prosecutor for over 20 years, and I've prosecuted all manner of cases from police, homicides, economic crimes, which I'm doing currently. I am happy to be part of this team, and the responsibility that we have been given is very important. We are going to deal with the victims of various crimes. We are going to probably witness people who have lost their loved ones. We are going to see people who have been maimed, lost limbs. We are going to see people who have lost their livelihoods.
Thank you.
And some children who are orphaned. Of course, this is not going to be easy for us, but I hope that God will guide us through this exercise. I cannot overemphasize that this is, of course, a first. We have never had such a panel. And we are saying it's a first because we have a gap which has been identified by the earlier speakers, a legislative gap which we need to deal with. So we need to have a legislation which will deal with such circumstances. We don't wish to have such circumstances in future, but we know that at one time we may have this challenge, so let's have a legal framework in place. So our work, therefore, is to give healing to our people who are hurting. And we can see it. You look at the social media, you look at the print media, you see what people are saying. You watch TV, you really feel that really this is not the way our society should be. So we have a responsibility of healing our country by giving appropriate compensation to the victims. And not just compensation, we also need to dispense justice. As we conduct this exercise, let's identify the people who perpetrated some of these crimes. And as an office, we are more than ready to receive those files so that we can have those people prosecuted, so that we don't have similar cases in future. Thank you, and I'm happy to be part of this panel.
Thank you, Mr. Obiri. Thank you. Thank you very much. You're going to be a very integral part of what we do. I think people have asked questions about accountability for official misconduct, especially by law enforcement. And I think we should not shrink away from that. We should look at it. At the same time, of course, as it's been said, we take care of those of our law enforcement who are hurt. But I think you're going to be very critical to us in terms of carrying forward some of those conclusions and recommendations. Thank you.
Chair, the Vice, and the team, good afternoon. I am Daniel Kotonya Bundi. I don't have the advantage of the many years of friendship and expertise as I've had. Some of them are actually almost my age. But I'm comforted by the fact that this is one of the few sessions where age doesn't always have a handshake with presidents. We're here to settle. And I'm happy to be here and to walk the journey with the more capable experts. I like to share with Dr. that, as Chairman said, we're all now experts. Now, one of the, I have training in engineering. I'm an avid student. I'm still in school, in my master's and some business degrees. I've worked with government before. The first digital census in Africa, I designed all of it and managed it, and it was a success. I keep saying that's one of the few multi-billion projects that didn't have a scandal. The class 1, class 2 laptops, and a few other political sessions. I have been a victim. Okay, I'm out of government now. I run a private practice. And I like looking at things from a very practical angle. We have three things that I think we have to sort. One being compensation. Second, the perspective of justice to have been done, and also to set precedents. We may not have much to copy from our neighbors, but if we do it right, then they'll be coming to copy. My contribution will generally, okay, in the wider sense of it, to look at how to put tech in communication, tech in handling data, tech in branding what we have here. I think you can see a lot of the things we have around. There's much more that hasn't been brought out. And also tech in public participation, archiving, collection, collating, and presentation. And with all that put together, I believe that this will set ground for the growth of the 2010 Constitution to the benefit of the entire country. I'm willing to learn, willing to help where I can. I think there are places where Naini and I can be faster on the fingers. And if time allows, which is my biggest fear actually, the days that we have, if time allows, I think it's something that we should see to its conclusive end in a way that Anampu said, we don't have to compensate in this format again. Thank you.
Yes, we were intentional in making this group intergenerational, but also multi-sectoral, and not to be ageist, but Mbudi and Naini, they see things somewhat differently than some of us. As you get older, your brain starts to atrophy and begins to lose some of its juice, so to speak. So our young colleagues here will keep us on our toes. Thank you, Bundi, for being a part of this.
Vice Chair, Chair, members and the technical committee, good afternoon. Yes, thank you so much. First and foremost, I want to say that I'm humbled to be part and parcel of this team. My name is Emmanuel Lagat. Currently, I work with the Independent Policing Oversight Authority as the Director of Investigations, the person in charge of investigations, and this is an institution that actually investigates and monitors and receives complaints against any member of the service. And by extension, I believe that we are rightly into this panel. And I also want just to reiterate that the IPOA, as guided, will be offering information because we have a lot of information that this committee will actually rely on. And there's commitment from that end that I pass that the committee is ready to work, and IPOA is ready to work with the committee. By profession, I'm a law enforcement officer. At the same time, I'm a forensic expert with around 20 years experience, and also good in governance, peace and security matters, and also a very good trainer when it comes to training adults who would otherwise be construed as unteachable into persons who can do something in society. Allow me again to say that, and basically, just to say that as the committee, as Professor heads us here, I believe that if we plan well, because already the end product has been said that we need to leave a legacy, we want this to be a case study worldwide. But all that comes with good planning. We've given 120 days. Personally, I believe that if we plan well and we do the almanac, we'll be able to know that probably we may conclude this thing in the shortest time possible and live within the timelines. But however, I think there's a provision in the Gazette notice also that as and when time is needed, then you can actually reach out to. Mine is also to reiterate that I'm ready to work with all of us here to support just the same way we've been supporting every other person, and at the same time to be a colleague and to also network. I work for government. I've been in this position, and I know, and I can assure you that you are going to meet with the victims that we meet every day, and we know what they go through. I think Vice Chair knows We interact every day. Sometimes we may want to box one another. Hot on his ear is always on our neck and supporting us in that manner. And I think we're here today to make history. And I pray each and every day that this one becomes a prayer item in our homes, and that we, if this team delivers, then the nation will be different going forward. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Emmanuel has been chomping at the bit to get started. He's been asking me, what are you guys doing? Why are you sitting down? So, Emmanuel, we look forward to benefiting from you. We know that your database is rich, it is broad, and it is deep, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we are dealing with human beings and their identities. And I know you have a lot of that data, and we rely on you heavily to really help us. So I'm very grateful you are here.
Chair, Vice Chair, the panelists and the technical team, good afternoon. I'm Florence Karini. I work at the DCI headquarters. National Forensic Laboratory is a firearm examiner for the last 17 years. And I can assure you that from my department, we're going to give you maximum support so that we can be able to achieve our objective. My expectation is that we'll be able to come up with long-term measures so that we can avoid the recurrence of some of these incidences. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Florence. Again, part of the big part of what we'll be doing is identifying, injuries, and your records, the work that the doctor here does, Dr. Denda and others, because one of the categories we are going to be looking at is really injuries, and of course, the panel will decide how it defines injuries in this context of compensation. My view is that we cast them as life-altering or serious injuries. Otherwise, the whole thing becomes superfluous. So we rely on your expertise on that as well, very much so. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. Chair, Vice Chair, and all protocols observed. I am Sangoro Alan. I am an Assistant Inspector General of Police working with the National Police. My expectation is that we will be required to help this team connect the dots with the victims. Because when these incidents take place, a number of them, I would want to believe most of them, are recorded at the police stations. So I want to believe that we'll be expected to provide police records, gather evidence where required, and help the team with the necessary data about the alleged injuries and deaths, so that with that data we can make informed decisions. I want to tell the team that I have about 30 years of working experience, about 10 of which I think much older than the Gen Zs that we have here. 10 of which have been on international platform,
largely with the UN. In areas of conflict, my interaction with victims have largely been on that platform. And I want to believe that that experience is going to bear into what we are going to do. I want to appeal to the team to understand that as much as most of what we are going to investigate, I want to say most, with due respect, Madam Vice Chair, not all the injuries were caused by the police. Sometimes during the riots, we have rioters also causing injuries. So, and I want to tell the members that because this is the only platform that we may have, it is not always, and I think most of the times when these injuries occur, that is not the intention of the police. When these riots occur, sometimes we have as close as our children involved in those riots. And they get involved everywhere. So that as normal Kenyans, we cannot go out to also injure our children, because in most cases what people riot about also concern them, and they're also out there. So as we judge the police, I'm very sure the general feeling is police do this intentionally. I want to assure the team that in most cases, these things happen due to the nature of the situations that the police find themselves in. Having said that, I want to assure the team that we will be available to support 200% with whatever and in whatever manner that will be expected to support. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alan. You know, your presence here is pivotal to what that we are going to do. In fact, I just want to say that the things that we want to do cannot be done unless you are here. You know, so we shall come back to you again and again and again for guidance, for information, for data. And as you said, we'll let the chips fall where they may, right? I mean, I am with you when you say that our police officers are part of us. I believe that 100%. And I believe that actually they are some of the most mistreated members of our society. You know, I travel quite a bit around the country, and I go to some police stations and I look at the living conditions in far-flung places, and it is pathetic. How are those people expected to protect us? They are under a lot of stress. You know, so those are some of the things that even here, as part of this group, we will have to make recommendations on about the welfare of those people who keep law and order. Because, you know, there is no country without law and order. There isn't. So I welcome you very much, and I embrace you.
Thank you. So, Chair of the panel, Vice Chair of the panel, and my fellow technical experts. My name is Peter Washira. I come from the National Treasury.
I think when you say you come from the National Treasury, people a little bit forget your technical expertise and start thinking of what they've been going through in terms of funding, the economic challenges. So most of the times you start to answer questions that are not even within your experience. I don't know whether even as I sit here today, Prof, you know my profession. And we have been with you for days. But nevertheless, I appreciate. First of all, I appreciate the way the team is picked. I appreciate the diversity of expertise in the room, the depth of experience. I think we look forward to learn from each other. I've been in Treasury for the last 15 years now, working in various departments, playing various different roles. Maybe that's how I found myself here. But of what I expected, and we have been having this discussion with some of the members here, is when you talk of compensation, what do you exactly mean? Do you mean you pay somebody what they deserve? Do you mean you pay them a token of appreciation? Do you mean when you call them a victim, who is a victim? Is the person who died, the person who was left, the person who lost his property, the person who maybe that day started developing high blood pressure because of the gunshots? You know, all those kind of thinking. So how do you identify the value? And I liked what Dr. Muraya said. How do you identify the value of what you are going to compensate? Somebody here said you can't even attach a value to a human life. Now, how do we ascertain how much we are going to pay? Now, as Treasury, of course, now that's where we come in. The money, how much are we talking about? So I'm sure, I think I had Prof being asked, how much do you think this would cost? And Prof was asking me to try and do a budget of how this much would cost. And you scratch your head and really coming up with a figure and say that this is the figure we need as a team. You can trust me, it's not easy. It's a difficult thing. And the next thing, you are asked, now, would this be happening? You know, now when you talk to your our macro brothers there is something we call fiscal sustainability, fiscal space. Those are issues. Because now you're wondering, this is an expenditure, one-off expenditure. But now, after this, what next? Are you going to come back to us again and ask for the same amount of money to do the same thing? So that is really our problem. So I'll be looking forward really to see what we put forward as a team to address this, at least to ensure that I have an answer to say that if we do this 1, 2, 3, then we are not going to have this panel again. I'm not going to come back here again and ask for more resources. So thank you. Looking forward to learn from you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I think the issues you raise are very pertinent and difficult to work through. And that's why you are here. Not only because money talks and the other stuff walks, but, but because we must have a rationale about what we are doing. You know, together with Anampiu on the question of insurance and so on, all those questions, what are the quantums that we are talking about? How will those be done? What can our treasury bear? You know, and what are the implications for if you set a precedent of you know, you and John Owala there, who is next, you know, are going to have to guide us on.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof, Vice Chair, members of the panel, the technical committee. My name is Wala. I work for the Treasury the last 32 years, responsible for accounting services and exchequer. And as my colleague has said here, our brief is very simple from CS John Buddy, FCPA, to make sure that from the resource perspective that we meet the objectives that we are set up to do. There's that commitment, there's that express support from the leadership in Treasury to make sure that it happens. So I don't want to add more to that. I just say thank you, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You are going to help us come up with a budget that we can defend, and you are going to show us how we can defend our expenditures. So, very important. Otherwise, we cannot move without you. And we hope, we know Jonah and Washira how busy you are, but we hope that you give us as much of your time as possible.
So thank you, Vice Chair, Chair, Vice Chair and members. My name is Raphael Ngetich. I'm a legal counsel in the Executive Office of the President. So together with my fellow joint secretaries, we'll be helping out the panel and the technical experts with all, the logistical concerns to make sure that things are in place, all the kind of support that you need. Yes, I think I can say that. Of course, lawyer by profession, and of course, a great honor to be here with you and to help in this process of national healing. Thank you.
We're in your hands, Raphael, so don't drop the ball.
Chair, Vice Chair, members, good afternoon. My name is Ernest Nyerere. I'm a lawyer by training. I'm very happy to be here to assist this very capable team as an assisting joint secretary. I happen to be one of the privileged Gen Zs who are in the room, and I'm looking forward to making sure that whatever structure we come up with is effective, practical, and gives results. I hate to quote my beloved governor of Nairobi County, but he panel lazima iwak. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't think they... Oh. Yeah, give it to
Sorry about that. My name is Daki Guyo. I'm one of the joint secretaries. I am an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I'm in private practice, and I'm really honored to be part of this team, and I look forward to supporting the panel of experts and working together with the technical persons. And I'm glad as a country we haven't, swept this ugly part of our past under the rug, and that will be part of the solution to helping us heal and move forward and ensuring that it doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Daki. Thank you so much.
Hi, everybody. Once again, yes, my name is Jerusa Michael. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I am currently working at Professor Makau Mutua's office as a technical advisor in constitutional affairs. I am happy to be in this team. Apart from being an advocate, I'm a certified legal auditor. I am an arbitrator. I'm a mediator, certified professional mediator. And I'm also a trained leadership and strategic expert, among other qualifications, including I'm a counseling and psychologist by training, certified. So there's a lot, in fact, so all the combination of all those experiences, or rather those qualifications, I will be able to bring an aspect of each of them to this panel. But most importantly, as a joint secretary, I am happy to support the team. My role is to support the team, ensure that you're sorted, you're okay, you have your papers, you have your water, you have your food, and you're basically okay to function and deliver the mandate that you were given in the Gazette notices that appointed you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon. Chair, Vice Chair. Sorry, I think I'll be forced to stand. Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair, as well as the distinguished panel and the committee. That is the technical team. I want to first and foremost appreciate being here. My name is Veronica Mwangi. I work with the Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. I am an advocate, having worked largely for about 17 years, both in the private sector. I worked also in the insurance company, and I ended up in the commission. So one of the key things that I really look forward is the fact that I'm happy that in the comments that were made earlier today by the chair and vice chair, both of them alluded to one thing, that one, we're here to make history, we are here to work as a team, and we are here to ensure that we have the aspect of justice, not in our own context, but in the context of the victims. And when you're looking at the victims, we need not stop at the victim directly. You also need to understand what has been the impact, or what was the impact to the persons related to the victim. But at the same time, ask ourselves, for instance, when you have aspect of a caregiver or someone who was taking care or who was a breadwinner for the family and they lost that particular person, what does it mean to children? So one of the areas I want to believe I would bring on board in terms of expertise is aspect of child protection. I've really done quite a lot on child rights work, but at the same time I have worked with survivors of different violations of human rights. And one of the other aspects I would say is that at the point when the commission was nominating me to come and serve in this particular technical committee, there was the understanding that there is some work that we've been doing within the commission. One, we have the mandate by the Prevention of Torture Act that looks largely on investigating aspects of torture. Of course, we work closely with NPS, IPOA, and also with the civil society organization. But beyond that, we need to complement the existing laws, number one, work closely with the aspect of established offices, either institutional commissions, but also ministries and agencies that have been put in place, such that then we are able to create a transitional sort of framework where once the panel has done its work, the legal framework that we'll have, how then do we foresee that transitional process of ensuring that at least there is continuity. Again, we need to really be alert to the fact that even though the victims are really expecting so much, especially from you, Honour Chair, the victims really are looking forward to this particular panel. As they do so, we need also to be alert to the fact that there are expectations that we may not necessarily fulfill. And I think that's why there was a recommendation by one of the panelists, or the member of the panel, that we need to constantly give information and of course give assurance, but at the same time, where we need clarity as to the expectations, how far, how much, then that must be communicated. And I want to just indicate that as a commission, of course, we have been part and parcel of the teams that were documenting the different situations or incidents, but beyond that, we are willing to support this particular panel, number one, to give information that we have, and number two, to support the processes that will take place when it comes to addressing the gaps that we have in our legal framework. One, speaking to the reparations framework in Kenya, I know there's been quite a lot of advocacy around that subject. It has never borne fruit, so I believe that's why this is very historical. We are starting a journey in Kenya, and we're going to make a history on that. On the other aspect that I look forward to is the aspect that has been spoken to when you discuss aspect of SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, leaving no one behind. Sometimes, even when you are either collecting data, you might have an idea that if you look, for instance, if you make reference to KNCHR press statements, one of the key things we were very keen on is to ensure that when we are discussing either injuries, fatalities, we were also going beyond that to discuss the aspect of destruction of property, businesses losses, but also going beyond to say what happened, not just to the protesters, but also to the law enforcement agencies. Again, we need to really remain very clear on that, because when we discuss about justice being our shield and defender, we must be seen to be doing so. And last but not least, I want to just speak to the fact that as we look at the discussions of reparation, I'm reminded that it's one of the tenets of access to justice, the right to reparation, the right to remedy. So I really want to help us to understand that as the technical, especially this one goes to the technical team, that as we support the distinguished panel, one of the key things we need to look at is the elements of reparation, which speaks to cessation, assurance, and guarantees of non-repetition. Number two, we'll also need to look at aspects of restitution and reparation. And third and fourth, we speak to satisfaction and rehabilitation. So you can tell we might not necessarily achieve all that in 120 days. However, the journey must start because it is timely. But beyond the journey being timely, it is time for our country to heal, but at the same time for all of us as key stakeholders to ask ourselves, as a panel, at what point are we going to engage the public? Are we going also to give room to the different victims, the survivors, and help them sort of start the healing process? There's a lot of healing that occurs in just having the people come here, tell the story. But again, apart from documenting, as a commission, we believe that documentation is towards readers, and I believe this particular panel has been established to help us safeguard that aspect of starting the journey of redress, which is reparation and helping in documentation. But beyond that, looking in the future and asking ourselves, where did we go wrong? What was the issue? The aspect of human rights-based approach. What is the root cause? What was the problem? How then do we safeguard our nation from having a repeat of such events? So with that, I want to sit down and thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. As I've said before, with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, IPOA, National Police Service, and DCI, you're really going to be the backbone of what we do. So I'm very pleased to hear you think so expansively and comprehensively about how you can help this process.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, esteemed panel members, I am Sonia Rasugu. I do work in the private sector. My work has, over the last about 20 years, enabled me work with government and with non-state agencies as well. I'm a political scientist. I work as a researcher broadly around contextual issues of governance. I've worked as a youth advocate on issues around inclusion and youth leadership. And it's a long list of skills. I've worked with many of the agencies here. For those of you who remember GJ as it was beginning, in terms of reform processes for the criminal justice sector. And I think for me, what's a big deal is understanding that citizen voices remain crucial to democracy and governance, and that raising your voice should not end in death or injury. And this begins our journey to say that as government, as a state, that is recognized, and this is the journey towards healing. So I am honored to be a part of this esteemed panel of my fellow citizens, and hope to bring my skills to bear, my expertise to bear in structuring the work and doing the task that's been handed to us. And I think I am last but not least, so I'll hand
No.
the mic.
You can never be least. Thank you very much, Sonia. I will ask the Vice Chair to share some thoughts.
I won't give remarks. Good afternoon. I think I gave adequate remarks at the inception. So I just say we have a hard task ahead of us. The reality is the public perception and the reality of the relationship between the government and the people of Kenya is at its lowest. And so we have a hard task against public opinion and against the challenges that are there right now, that we have to find a way to work together and ensure that we must deliver. Because for some of us, our reputation means everything, and therefore we must deliver. And I would urge that, because even the chair said that this is apolitical, everyone who once has taken oath of office, kindly avoid posting pro-government or pro-opposition slogans or anything, because you will affect the nature of the work of this committee. Because if you have to sell the fact that we remain apolitical and we remain neutral and our role is to ensure that we're able to serve, then we cannot be seen selling any type of rhetoric. So unfortunately, that is part of, I hope, that chair that we must enforce, because people must feel that they are safe to come and they are safe to share their stories and they're safe to come before this panel. I've worked closely with Kenya National Commission for Human Rights. I've worked as well with IPOA, particularly the time that the public opinion was at its lowest. And so we had to devise means and ways that members can share their stories and to IPOA officers without them having to go to IPOA offices itself. And so being at this side, and I understand whenever we meet with the police force, particularly at the NCAJ or at our meetings, it's normally a gruesome meeting because I stand on this other side. But I've decided to stand for us to work together for victims. This is about us churning through a difficult, I say, I don't know how to say, the roadmap we'll make is going to be new, and at the same time it's an opportunity for us to direct. You know, I stood before National Police regional officers and they confirmed that they all get training in the Constitution as well as the standing orders and also the National Police Act, and so they are aware of what they ought to do. And therefore, when we are coming up with recommendations and we are coming up with ways to improve things, it's for the benefit for both sides, to protect the police, some of them who are injured during this protest, but at the same time to sanction those who are liable for being overzealous and taking away life. Kenya is our country, and it's up to us to make recommendations that can foster back public confidence, as well as ensure that people can be able to self-express without the fear that they will not come home, and more so that even in the quiet of your home, that your life will be taken away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. I just want to run through some quick things because I know, we've been here for quite a while, planting our ears in our seats for hours on end. So I want to sort of just run through a few things. Today was not the place or the time to extrapolate on our mandate, our powers, our deliverables in a granular way. But I think through the conversations and the contributions of everyone in the room, I think we've been able to touch on some of these. Of course, with reference to the four corners of the Gazette notice that appointed us and gave us this task. So I want to leave that task of sort of mining in a granular way, our mandate, our powers, and the timelines and so on, to the technical teams so that they can come up with that. I'll be liaising with Bano and the joint secretaries and of course the vice chair to come up with a grid of some sort that we can discuss next week at the Kenya School of Government. We intend to have a retreat for a number of days there. My tentative thinking is that the technical team really goes there first and spends 2 or 3 days drilling down and sieving issues so that on the 3rd or 4th day they can call the panel itself, and the panel can then be interactive with the technical team to make decisions about some of these issues. Obviously, any member of the panel who wants to go for the first few days is free to do so. But I think for the most part, that will be the time for the panel to think about its work plan and to divide up, among itself, the thematic areas that I think should be done. Then they will bring that work back to the panel for revision or ratification, amendment or rejection, so that we can proceed. I think that's an efficient way to go forward. So again, from Monday, to Thursday or Friday, we shall be going to the Kenya School of Government. I don't know what time you want to start, but you can let us know so that people can be there. For the technical teams, that is essential, just essential, because you are our backbone. So that is one. I think there will be communication coming from the joint secretaries and obviously the technical leads on that issue. There have been discussions here and there about the grounding on which we stand as a matter of law. Again, that issue can be discussed at some point, although I would say the horse has left the barn. If you look at the terms of reference, there is the sort of a narrow mandate of compensation, and then there's a more robust transformative work of nation building that is there. In order for both to be done, I would suggest that we will have to engage with the public, as our Vice Chair has talked about, but that engagement with the public will have to be curated and it will have to be targeted so that it can be productive to both to the public and to us. Because as you can imagine, there will be questions about who is eligible and who is not, and that will bring a lot of angst and perhaps even a lawsuit or two. Why was I left out? And so on and so forth. So we'll draw down on all of that. And I think this is where, for example, the data issues will come in. And the records of the doctors, the law enforcement, and the human rights institutions and commissions. That's where they will come in, and of course civil society. We have within this space a lot of members of civil society, and I myself am not, of course, alien to that space. So I think we have to reach out to civil society. It is one of those sectors in our society that has, its claws, dig deep into the society. And as Suba will tell you, they can set the agenda. They might be very few, but very vocal and deadly. So we want to make sure that we engage our comrades effectively for that purpose, to be able to persuade, but if we don't persuade, to blunt some of the negativity that is coming from that quarter, because we do not want it to be a kind of a toxic relationship between us and them. In the long term, of course, we are going to propose reforms that are deep, thoroughgoing, I should say, thoroughgoing reforms in the law and order, area, but also in the democratic space, including the need for legislation to do certain things, to align, the conduct of the country with the Constitution of 2010. So that's going to be there. We have some powers to do some things, to request access to information, to request for records, to require attendance, of course, to constitute working groups among ourselves and to co-opt experts and consultants and others that we need in case we feel that we do not have enough, purchase within ourselves to do all those things that ought to be done. I want to say that, I'm very pleased with this session that we have had. It's only in Africa where you can get people aligning like this. I have lived in the United States for many years, and you get a group together like this, and it's like herding cats. If you put cats together in one room and try to bring them together, it's impossible. They try to go in all different directions, and they claw you and they scratch you and so on. So luckily in this group, I think we know why we are here. I am so pleased and touched by really all the statements that I've heard. The collegiality of it is there. The sense that we are victim-centered is there in everyone. The avoidance of conflicts of interest is there. Need for data protection, and even for those that in the past I may not have been responsive to, like Dr. Ojwang, we shall sit down and we shall share a Glenn Fetish or a Glenn Levitt and patch up those differences so that we can be collegial again. Public perceptions are very important. As I've said, I would like Paul and Fred to really be hands-on. The members cannot be expected to fly blindly into the public space. It will be your singular obligation to tell us what to do, to give us talking points, not to lie, but to give us talking points to make us effective communicators, and to book us on TV shows and other media spaces so that we can go and talk to the people of the country, because this is what we need to do. I do not think that, although we are appointed by government, I don't think that people see us as prosecuting a government cause. That's not the vibe I'm getting. The vibe I'm getting is that we are here to work for the people of Kenya. Even the people who are detractors, are saying that, oh, perhaps your effort is incomplete, or perhaps, why do you kill and compensate? Which is tautological, because if someone is dead, what are you going to do? Isn't it better at least to do something? So some of those are just naysayers, refuseniks, or the nattering nabobs of negativism, as I used to call them. People who are just throwing stones and do not know what they are doing. But it's a democracy. We take that all in good stride, and we live with it. So I think we could not have been a better team, quite frankly, to come together. And in every diversity of the country, I see it here. Every diversity of profession, I see it here. Every diversity of age, I see it here. And so only we can defeat ourselves. Only we can defeat ourselves. The one thing that I would urge everyone to really think about is, let's think of ourselves as patriotic and as collegial. If we keep those two things in our front lobes, as collegial and patriotic, there is nothing we will not be able to accomplish. I want to say, I'm hoping that the private media is not here. They left. Okay, because you never know. I want to say that we have, for the purposes of the public, we have an office here in KICC, which is a front office which will be open to the public. It will be staffed by a lawyer or two and some public information people and an office manager, where victims, secretaries, where victims or people who have questions can come and ask questions and be guided. For our workspace, and this, I want you to take this very seriously, we have procured a location in Kiuna. It's being remodeled. I will be able to confirm when it is completely habitable. We have office space there. We will have amenities there, food, whatever, so that you can work 24/7. That will be a workspace, okay? Because, and that workspace should not be public. Because if you make it public, believe me, you will not work. You will come in the morning at 5 o'clock or 6 a.m. and you find a long line there, or people wanting to see a doctor, senior counsel or ghetto, or wanting to see Bano, or wanting to see the vice chair, and so on and so forth, to file a complaint, to make a claim. So that particular location, I don't want to use the word secret because that sounds ominous. I just want to say, let me put it this way, it is off the grid, okay? You cannot find it with a pin. Let's put it that way. It's off the grid. So please don't bring visitors there. Just come by yourself and leave. We have even erected walls to make sure that the neighbors do not know what the hell is going on in there. Okay? When there's food there, believe me, you will eat. You can even sleep there if you want. You just come to work. And this, especially for technical teams, not so much for the panel. Okay? We'll be giving you guidance as to when it's available and giving you information about how to access it. There's parking there, so you can drive there. There's no problem. It's very quiet. So let's keep that under wraps, as it were. Let us not talk about it. So if people ask you for a reference point, you will get that information from our joint secretaries, and they will direct people to the KICC office here on the ground floor, I think it is. And we'll try to make it as welcoming as possible here. And then we will talk about other things such as public facing platforms, which perhaps I should ask Paul Achar to say something about at this point, because they are creating some websites for us. Maybe Paul, you can just briefly before we break, just tell us what that's about. I think you need
Okay, I think I can stand. We're doing FAQs. There's a lot of questions that we've been collecting already from the public. And some of these questions, when you collate them, they're almost similar. There's a trend that you can be able to see that people are asking. So we'll be having an FAQ that can go out, hopefully, once the internal mechanisms for information management approve that this goes out, it then will be able to go out onto the media. This particular event that has happened today, there'll be a press release. I believe that the joint secretaries will be issuing out, because we need to communicate what happened today. But there's also a portal that is being created, a website that will be accessible to the public. Now, the first phase of the website is just information. We are not opening it up for claims or anything, because all that will be discussed, and I guess the panel and the technical team will agree on how to be able to receive information. So for now, it's just about information. That is, a lot of the information is gleaned from what is in the Gazette notice for now. But as we move along, we'll ensure that we are responsive. We also have a team that is going to be managing the digital space, countering, responding, and giving information on a real-time basis. I've seen Madam President of Lescare's, KTN was here, but they're already misreporting what you said. So we will have a team that is saying you'll be ready to quit in case something like that. That's what we were discussing.
She stopped short of saying that.
But you see, that is not the information that we want out on the first day. So we will be having something going out later. We have a team. This is our internal team that will be recording. So we'll create our own clips, because the media has its agenda, but we will have our own agenda. We will correct what you said, because we have the clips and we have it on record. So I think, Prof, in a nutshell, that's it. But I'll be keen also, we'll be sharing how we'll internally manage communication in a secure way. We don't want to be on a signal group that is leaked, like what happened with the Americans. So we will be sharing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We can take a few questions if they are there. And then, because we've had some families here who are still waiting for us, we've kept them waiting since the morning hours, victims' families and so on, that I think we should bring in at some point so that they can, talk to us, because this is, after all, about them. So if there are questions, perhaps we can tailor them quickly and so on. Irungu.
Thank you very much for the overview of the work plan. As soon as it unfolds, it will be helpful for a number of us who continue to juggle various responsibilities. Did I hear you correctly that the technical team will be in session between Monday and Wednesday, and the panel engages Thursday and Friday? Those are the dates?
Yes, yeah.
And then the second one was possibility, I think, as you're thinking about the communication mechanisms, is it possible to create a bulletin board where if we have, if we have ideas that come to us at 3 o'clock in the morning, some of you, that's when you do your best thinking. you are able to just drop something on a bulletin board in one or two of the work streams so that the technical team can, I guess, bounce ideas, even virtually. So you don't necessarily have to be in the same room to think together. I think the agencies have shown us that we can organize across the Republic without actually never meeting each other. So I think we can adopt some form of open source, well, not too open, but bulletin board.
Okay. Yeah, I knew in advance that you are going to be leaving. Any other comments or question of? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just a contribution. Thank you so much, Chair. I always believe that the Chief Justice never had. Even I know where that comment is coming from. So my question is, because we have our daily jobs, how much is expected of us so that we are able to plan their assignments and still concurrent regarding this one?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. So I want to say that the policy-making body is the panel. So no major decision, is going to be made without the panel say so. So, but I also understand, as you say, you have your day jobs. You're all senior people who sit somewhere else, plowing your trades. And it is unreasonable for me to expect you to give 60–70% of your time to the panel. I think what we will do, we'll have board meetings, if I may call them that, in quotes. Maybe I'll require you to come for board meeting once a week, I don't know, maybe twice a week. It will just depend on how many things we have to approve. For the purposes of remuneration, because I think I should say this, I think I can let, Bano talk to that, because it's important just to be transparent at the outset. We are not here for money, but it's important to be transparent.
Waathiriwa baadhi yao familia takriban 8-7 na wangependa vile vile kuzungumza na panel kikao hiki ili panel pia ijue matarajio yao ni yapi na ni vipi wanaweza kushirikiana na kikao hiki kuhakikisha kwamba juhudi ambazo tungefanya hapa zikamilike vilivyo na vile vile kila mtu apate haki na vile vile Kenya ipate kunusurika na kukombolewa kutokana na majanga haya. Kwa hivyo nitawapatia nafasi ujitambulishe na uchukue nafasi dakika 2-3 ueleze kamati hii kwa nini uko hapa na ulihusika vipi. Asante. Nitaanza na dada yetu hapa. Jina na naweza simama ukiongea.
Hamjambo nyinyi wote. Kwa majina naitwa Concepta Kecho Mondi. Ninaishi Ng'ando Rescos, na niko hapa hivi kwa sababu last year wakati tulikuwa na ile Gen Z protest niliweza kupoteza mzee wangu, na wakati huo nilikuwa naishi Kibera, lakini baada ya kumuzika ilibidi nihame nikaelekea upande wa Ngong Rescos. Hadi saa hii huko ndio ninaishi. Sasa nikitaka kusema vile nimekuwa affected na losing huyo mzee wangu, ilikuwa ni kwamba ilikuwa kitu ya abrupt ambayo mtu hatarajii, na kutoka hapo hivyo nikapata a lot of trauma kiasi ambapo hata saa hii nikitembea nikiona hata mtu ameshika hata kama ni gun ama ni nini, ninaona tu kifo ndio hiyo inatokea. Sasa ile kitu nilikuwa naomba hapo sana, most of us hatuku undergo counseling. Hiyo counseling inatusumbua sana. We underwent a lot of emotional suffering, physical suffering. Sasa kama yangu ni ile emotional ile imekataa kuisha. Sasa kama ningeweza tu kupata something like counseling ningefurahia sana. Maybe inaweza kufanya ni sahau pole pole.
Asante mama.
Habari zenu? Kwa majina ni Dorothy Aliviza. Natoka Nakuru, nakaa Kisumu ndogo Nakuru. Last year nilipoteza bwana yangu juu ya maandamano ya Gen Z. Si kujua naweza kumpoteza, alikuwa ametoka kwa nyumba anaelekea job. Alikuwa anafanya biashara, kufika hapo wakamrusha risasi akakufa hapo na hapo. Hiyo nimepata shida sana. Nataka counseling. Nilikuwa na mtu anapita hata na bunduki, nastuka sana karibu ni faint. Lakini nataka counseling sana. Counseling sana. Angalau nipate fahamu kidogo. Nisahau kidogo. Ni hayo tu.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Kwa majina naitwa Mildred Achieng Odiwel. Nilipoteza babangu kwa hiyo maandamano ya last year, and it has not been easy because my mom is just a housewife mwenye tu akiitwa ndiye afulie mtu, so life is not just easy at all because the dad was the breadwinner. He left and hakuna kitu tunaweza fanya, alishaenda and we can't bring life again. So the only thing I need or I request maybe counseling, because saa zingine unapitia shida hadi unajiuliza do I really need to exist? Because being a young lady, mambo ni mingi. You go look for a job. I'm a student taking a course of a nursing assistant and caregiver. Post for a minute because finance, school fee and all that. It's not easy. And just counseling, yeah, maybe will help.
Hamjambo. Okay, mimi kwa jina naitwa Ayubu Koth. Mimi natoka Nakuru, naishi Huruma. Nilipoteza brother yangu, tulikuwa naishi naye Nakuru. Mimi nafanya kazi ya hawking, nauza nguo hapo town. Sasa kwanza nashukuru sana rais kwa kuja na hii committee, kwa sababu in the history of Kenya sijawahi kusikia mambo kama hiyo. So first nimshukuru president, na I hope and I believe ya kwamba hii committee ta dig down to the ground, wajue wapate victims, na pia wenye walitenda mambo kama haya pia victimized na wastakiwe. na I have all the trust that mtafanya hiyo kazi. Asanteni sana.
Habari zenu. Kwa majina anaitwa Jacinta Nyango. Mimi ni mama Kennedy Nyango, kijana mdogo aliwawa Ongatarongai akiendea kitabu. Mimi kwanza nawashukuru sana kutuita hapa, na tena na support hii group kwa sababu hali yangu sio hali tena. Nimepoteza Kennedy na yeye alikuwa tumaini yangu. Angalau siwezi nunua maisha yake na haisi rudi tena. Chenye ningeomba serikali, kama anafanya hii afanye wazi, vile sai tunaongea hapa tukionekana, hata hiyo siku akifanya afanye wazi. Na pia tafadhali wenye wako kwa hii kamiti, at least mchunguze hao maaskari walewa watoto wetu, kila mtu apate adhabu yake. Hiyo ndio kitu, hiyo ndio justice kwangu. Naona kama hiyo ni justice muhimu kwangu. Askari nikimwona ameshikwa, hata yeye amepata adhabu, badala kukua serikalini anaendelea na kazi na sisi tunalipwa, itakuwa ni kama wanaua sisi tukipewa pesa. Tena hata kama tutapewa pesa, tafadhali isikwae kitu yenye, ikwae kitu ya mahana, kitu yenye inaweza badilisha at least maisha. Hiwezi rudisha Kennedy, lakini badilisha maisha yetu. Chenye Kennedy angenifanyia angalau naweza kufanya. Juu nimebaki na watoto wawili na wako na sickle cell. Niko leo kesho, mimi siko kwa nyumba na mimi sina kazi na sikusoma, sina kazi. Naona nafanya kazi ya kufulia watu yenye leo hakuna, leo iko. So hiyo ndio ombi yangu. Nimesupport hii group nikifikiria labda hiyo kitu chenye naomba ikwae wazi, ifanyike wazi. Asanteni.
Habari zenu. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Michael Odhiambo kutoka Rongai. Mimi ndio baba Kennedy. Tunashukuru sana kwa muda wenu kutuita hapa kukaa na sisi. Alafu tena tunasema asante sana kwa rais kufikiria kitu kama hii. Ni kwamba akifanya hivi haijawahi fanyika. Sasa tumejua hata yeye ile uchungu tunapitia, ameona kama mzazi, kama baba, na akaamua kufanya hivi. Wakati ameamua kufanya hivi, tunaomba tu ikuwe kitu itafanyika wazi, ambaye itakuwa kitu ya political, watu wanatafuta nayo mileage, wanasiasa. Alafu tena tunaikuwa tunaomba tu kama wakati hii komiti inafanya kazi yake, ama askari pia wachunguzi wetu wapatikane, wachukuliwe hatua. Alafu kama itawezekana, hii kitu ilipata familia kubwa. Tulikuwa tunaomba wakati mnaendelea kufanya uchunguzi wenu, at least muweke familia wakwe kwa hiyo komiti, wajue ni nini inaendelea. Asanteni sana.
Asanteni sana. Wanakamati mmewasikiza, na mimi ningependa kupatia microphone mwenyekiti aituelekeze kutoka hapo.
Asanteni sana kwa kufika hapa kukutana na sisi. Mimi naitwa Profesa Makau Mutua, mimi ndio mwenyekiti wa kamati hii. Na najua kwamba nyinyi mna makazi yenu ya kufanya, lakini nawashukuru kwa kupata fursa ya kuja hapa kukutana na sisi. Kazi yetu hapa ni kuwasikiliza nyinyi, mtuelekeze kwa maoni yenu vile mnavyoona hii kamati itafanya kazi vipi. Nimesikia maneno yenu ya kwamba mambo ya counseling ni muhimu sana. Nyote mna miaka tofauti tofauti. Kuna wengine ambao wana miaka sio kidogo, na kuna wengine ambao wana miaka kidogo sana. Ningependa kusema kwamba jukumu la serikali ni kutunza wananchi wake kulingana na katiba na sheria iliyowekwa. Katiba ina haki zake ambazo zimewekwa kwa wananchi na majukumu ambayo yamewekwa. Kuendesha nchi sio kitu rahisi, ni vigumu, na kuendesha demokrasia ni vigumu zaidi. Makosa yatafanyika, si ndio? Lakini yale makosa ambayo yanafanyika kwa sababu watu wamekiuka sheria, haswa maaskari wetu, ambao pia unajua maaskari wetu nao pia ni watoto wetu, si ndio? Sio watu wa kutoka ati wanatoka nchi zingine, ni wananchi wa hapa tu. Ni lazima tuanzishe mfumo mpya, ili kama watu wanakwenda kuandamana, polisi wetu wanajua mipaka iko wapi ya kisheria ambayo hawezi kukeukwa, na vile vile watu ambao wanaandamana wajue nao haki zao ziko wapi. Lakini makosa yakipatikana na watu wakiadhirika, kama vile wapendwa wenu walipoadhirika, kama mama huyu anasema kwamba bwanake hayupo tena, tunajua ya kwamba hiyo compensation ambayo tutaleta haiwezi kumrudisha kama walivyosema. Lakini kwa maoni yangu, ninaona ya kwamba hiyo itakuwa ni hatua moja tu ya kusaidia, sio kwamba atarudi, si ndio? Lakini ni hatua moja ya kusaidia, kwa sababu tusipofanya hivyo, kama huyu mama amesema ya kwamba hana maslahi, hana kazi, tungependa apate kitu kimsaidie, hata kama ni kuanzisha biashara, hata kama ni kupeleka watoto shuleni, si ndio? Sisi tuko hapa kusaidia kwa namna hiyo. Na vile vile tungependa kuanzisha upelelezi kwa wale ambao walikiuka sheria, washtakiwe kotini. Alafu kutoka hapo tuanzishe mfumo mpya, tuweke sheria zingine ambazo zitafunga huo mlango wa kukiuka sheria. Lakini la muhimu ni kwamba hapa kuna madaktari ambapo wako kwenye kamati. Madaktari hao watatuarifu vile watafanya mambo ya counseling. Kwa sababu mimi najua ya kwamba ukiathirika namna hiyo kama wewe unavyosema, hata huwezi kulala usiku, si ndio? Kwa hivyo tungependa serikali iangalie hayo mambo. Sisi kazi yetu itakuwa ni kupanga hivyo. Tumeongea na rais alipokuwa anateua tume hii. Rais amejitolea akatuambia tufanye hii kazi, tuwasaidie. Kwa hivyo yeye mwenyewe Na alisema juzi kwenye mkutano hapo, kulikuwa na mkutano mmoja niliona akiongea huko hadharani, akasema kwamba hii kazi lazima tufanye kwa bidii na tufanye transparently, unavyosema wewe, kwa kiwazi. Ili pesa ambayo itapatikana hapa ijulikane hadharani, si ndio? Sio kama hakuna kitu ambacho kitafichwa hapa. Okay? Kwa hivyo mimi kwa hayo machache ninawashukuru. Ningependa kuuliza naibu mwenyekiti wangu Faith Odhiambo, unajua yeye ni rais wa Law Society of Kenya, kundi la wanasheria. Ana mengi ya kusema. Kwa hivyo ana fursa ya kusema na nyinyi, aongee na nyinyi. Alafu kutoka hapo tutawauliza wenzangu kama wana la kusema, waseme. Si ndio? Na ningependa kusema kabla sijampatia usukani, niseme ya kwamba hii sio mara ya kwanza au mara ya mwisho ambapo tutakutana. Si ndio? Mnaweza kurudi tena tukakutana tukaongea. Okay? Tunashukuru sana.
Ya kwanza nataka kusema pole sana. Uchungu wa kupoteza mwanako au familia mmoja wenu ni uchungu kubwa sana, na kutoka kwetu tunasema pole sana. Tu vile Chair amesema, kazi yetu ni tutahakikisha kwanza tufanye upelelezi. Tunataka kuhakikisha tujaribu tusaidie hizi kesi zenu, tujue zimefika wapi, na vile polisi wanaweza kuhakikisha investigations zimefanywa, na tuko na watu wa IPOA wanaweza kufanya hizo upelelezi, ndio tuhakikishe tujaribu mpate haki. Haki ni muhimu, na hiyo ndio maana tuko hapa. Sio pekee kusema compensation, lakini ni muhimu pia tujue ukweli, na mwanzo wa kuanza mapya ni pia kuhakikisha mmesikizwa uchungu wenu, watu wameona hali umepitia, na pia kuhakikisha tufanye mikakati yote tunaweza kuhakikishe DPP, Director of Public Prosecutions, achukue hizo kesi zenu na hakikisha zimehairishwa kotini. Nasema tena pole, na ujue moyo yetu iko nanyi, na tutajaribu kufanya yote tunawezavyo kuhakikisha mpate haki. Asanteni.
Asanteni sana. Ningependa kuuliza kama kuna wenzangu hapa kwenye kamati ambao wangependa kuongea na wenzetu waliotutembelea leo. Kwenye kamati au kwenye technical expert yeyote ambaye anataka kuongea, tafadhali. Dr. Odhiambo, nataka kuongea.
Mwenyekiti, asante wenzetu wa Kenya, wenzetu, poleni sana. Hakuna cha kusema ila kusema poleni sana kwa majonzi na kwa mambo hayo magumu mnayopitia. Mlivyokuwa mkiongea nikakumbuka lile jopo la Truth Justice ya South Africa, iliongozwa na Desmond Tutu, kuwa wale walikuwa wamepitia mambo magumu walikuwa kati kabisa, na mama mmoja alipoambiwa na hilo jopo kuwa wamemsamea yule polisi aliyefanya hivyo, akajibu kusema hamna nguvu ama halali ya kufanya hivyo. Hata mimi sina halali ya kufanya hivyo. Kwa hivyo tunachukulia kwa manani sana kuwa ni nyinyi tuko hapa juu yenu, muna sauti, na kwa kweli kwa niaba ya wenzangu pia mimi nimechukua nafasi hii kuambia poleni sana, na asante kwa kuwa na ujasiri mkubwa wa kutembea hata mkiwa na hayo majeraha, kuonyesha kuongea na kushughulika kwa kila hali ya kuishi kila siku, hata kama maisha yenu imepigwa pigo kubwa kabisa. Asante mwenyekiti.
Unaweza, Dr. Ojwang, unaweza kuwaelezea wewe ni nani kwa kifupi?
Mimi ni mmoja ya wenye jopo hili members, tukiongozwa na mwenyekiti na naibu mwenyekiti. Mimi naitwa Duncan Ojwang. Tuko hapa, mimi ni mwalimu wa sheria. Niliwaelezea kuwa nimefunza sheria ya haki za binadamu kwa miaka 17 Kenya na Marekani. Tuko hapa sio haswa kwa minajili ya serikali, lakini kwa minajili ya Wakenya wenzetu kama nyinyi. Asante mwenyekiti.
Asante sana. Kuna mwenzetu mwingine angependa kuongezea?
Ashandi Shikwaye Douglas is an American singer.
Basi mimi naitwa Reverend Ken Baraza. Kwanza kabisa nataka kutoa pole zangu kwa ndugu na hata wazazi wetu, wa mama wako hapa. Sisi kama panel hii ambayo inaongozwa na Profesa pamoja na Madam Faith, kwanza tunamshukuru Mungu kwa sababu nafasi hii tumetunukiwa ili tuwahudumie. Naomba mkuwe na imani kwanza katika Mungu na pili katika jopo hili. Tunaenda kusimama na nyinyi kwa sababu jambo la kwanza, nyinyi ni sehemu aidha ya kanisa ama msikiti. Kwa hivyo nyinyi ni jamii zetu. Kama kanisa na kwa niaba ya jopo hili tunaenda kufanya kazi to make sure kwamba wale ambao walihusika haki zao zimepatikana, na zaidi ya yote tunawaombea mioyo yenu itulie. Tutafanya lolote tuwezalo ili tuwafikie, ili nanyi mkuwe watu ambao mnaweza tembea katika nchi yenu ya Kenya mkiwa uhuru pamoja, mkiwa na furaha. Barikiweni sana.
Ndugu yangu, unaweza kuwaelezea wewe ni nani?
Basi mimi ni mtumishi wa Mungu. Kwanza mimi ni county chaplain Kakamega. Nimesomea diplomacy, na pia zaidi ya yote mimi nasimamia wachungaji kama mwandishi mkuu clergy ya Kenya Western Region. Kwa hivyo nimeheshimika kuwa pamoja na nyinyi. Asante.
Shukran. Kuna mwenzetu mwingine angependa kuongea? Kuna mwenzetu hapa angependa kuongea, Chachi Usuba. Kwanza jieleze jina.
Asante sana mwenyekiti.
Asante sana mwenyekiti. Kwa majina naitwa Suba Churchill. Mimi ni mtetezi wa haki za kibinadamu kwa muda sasa wa miaka 32, na mimi niko katika hii jopo kama member wa technical team ambayo itakuwa inasaidiana na wanajopo ili tuweze kupata ama kupendekeza suluhisho mwafaka wa kuwezesha wale ambao walipatikana na shida moja au nyingine. Kuna ombi imewekwa hapo ikiwa mwakilishi wenu labda ataruhusiwa. Nafikiri baada ya kupokea complaints, kwa sababu nafikiri jopo hili lina mpango wa kutangaza ili Wakenya ambao walipata shida kwa njia moja au nyingine, ndio tutakuwa na uwezo wa kujua jinsi ya kuwafikia, because huenda jopo hili ndio tumeanza kazi leo, huenda jopo hili likafanya vikao. Kwa hivyo tukiwa kwa mfano Nakuru, baadhi yenu mmetoka Nakuru, wakati huo tutaweza kujua ni nani anaweza hudhuria kikao ikiwa itafanyika kule na Nyeri na kadhalika, kwa sababu hii ni jambo ambalo lilitokea kote katika taifa letu la Kenya. Kwa hivyo hilo ombi lenu labda jopo itaweza kuijibu baada ya muda, lakini baadhi ya utaratibu ambayo inatuongoza kama wanajopo ni kwamba nyinyi kama waathiriwa muwe na access to the process, ili muwe na observer katika kila kikao ambacho hichi jopo kitaweza kuandaa. Nimefurahia sana kuona watu tofauti ambao wengine walipoteza wapendwa wao, wengine wenyewe. Nafikiri itafika wakati tutapatana na wale ambao ndio waliumia. Na katika kazi yetu tutazingatia kwamba victim sio ule tu aliaga dunia kama mzee wa huyu mama ama ndugu ya huyu kaka, lakini victim anaweza kuwa ni mtu wa karibu wa familia ambaye kwa njia moja au nyingine labda ameachwa na watu ambao sasa hawako walemavu kabla ya maandamano, lakini sasa ni walemavu ambao hawezi labda wakajifanyia kazi yao ya kila siku. Kwa hivyo ajenda yetu ni kuangazia hayo yote ili tuweze kufikiana na uamuzi ama pendekezo ambayo itaweza kusaidia watu aina hao. Kwa hivyo hayo ndio nilikuwa nataka kusema, lakini kama vile wenzangu wamesema, jukumu letu kama wanajopo ni kuhakikisha kwamba tumewahudumia, sio kuhudumia serikali. Serikali tayari imejitolea na ikaweka katika magazeti ya serikali, ikachapisha ili umma iweze kujua kwamba serikali imefanya uamuzi ya kuhakikisha kwamba wale ambao kwa njia moja au nyingine waliathirika na huenda wakapata fidia kwa njia moja au nyingine. Na pia tunajua na tunafahamu kwamba kuathiriwa kwa wale ambao athirika ukuja na shida, changamoto changamoto za kisaikolojia, changamoto cha upweke. Mama tayari ameweza kusema alihama, na labda alihama kwa sababu hana uwezo tena la kulipa kodi ile alikuwa analipa kule aliokuwa. Kwa hivyo labda sasa kwa sasa hivi anakana na jirani na marafiki, watu wa familia na kadhalika. Kwa hivyo hizo zote tutaweza kuchunguza na tuweze kujadiliana kama jopo, wanajopo, ili tuweze kujua jinsi ambavyo tunaweza saidia. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana. Kuna mwingine wa mwisho, tuchukue ya mwisho au kama hakuna Okama.
Asante mwenyekiti. Nafikiria mmesikiza jinsi walivyoeleza, na vile vile mimi ningependa kuwatakia laheri. Hili jopo limewasikiza na ni matumaini yangu kwamba yale matarajio yenu yatashughulikiwa. Kwa hivyo kwa sasa ningeomba ondoke kidogo ili wamalize mkutano, na vile vile mko na nambari zetu na mjue pale ofisi iko hapa, na tutaendelea kujadiliana kwa leo. Asanteni sana na washukuru.
Mimi ningependa kupiga picha na wao.
Asante hapo. Kabla mwende,
naomba picha yenu.
Kabla mwende mpige picha na mwenyekiti, naibu mwenyekiti na wanajopo. So you can, the panel, the chair. Yes. I think we just leave it at that point. That's it. Asanteni. Wanakamati ambao wanaweza kujumuika nao. huenda hawatatoshea, lakini baadhi yenu tu. Okay. Cheers, eh? Okay. The family can sit. Mkae mbele. Alafu hao wengine watasimama. Sit. Kuna space bado. Unaweza songa, kuna Dan wewe ni mrefu. Songa. Kuna space bado. Wale warefu wasonge. Kuna space bado pale nyuma. Sorry. Kuna space. Come add this here. Ngeweka pale hapa. If you are ready. So,
sorry. Hi everyone, kindly